Hello, I'm Matt Crook. I'm the primary instructor for the Space NC3 certificate. Today I'd like to discuss why we use math in the NC3 certificate. So math is ultimately a language that we use to very precisely describe physical relationships. And so when we're describing certain things, like as an example, when we describe the gain of a hyperbolic or a parabolic antenna, if you look at the equation for that, there's certain things that you can infer from the equation very specifically. For instance, that if you change the wavelength, it has a very specific effect on how much of the signal will be received at the receiving end, or if you make the diameter of the dish larger, things like that. So those things you can describe precisely with mathematical equations, and that's why we use them. So we can understand the relationship between changing some of the variables and what effect it'll actually have on the overall system. But we're not training you in the certificate to be an engineer, so you're not going to be expected to actually design things using these equations. It's just so that you, from a technical point of view, can understand what is needed. So for example, when we go through the primer to go over some of the math for this certificate, I've actually taken real equations that we use in wireless engineering, and then I've replaced some of the variables with just X, Y, and Z, just generic variables. And the reason I've done this is so that you can practice manipulating the equations. Like if I say solve for Y or solve for X, you can do that and feel comfortable with what you need to do algebraically to make the equation work. Then when we get into the actual certificate, instead of X, Y, and Z, we'll have things like G or lambda or other variables that actually have some kind of a meaning in real physical science. And then that way, when I say, okay, solve for G and let me know what the gain of this dish is, or solve for lambda, or solve for the diameter of the dish, whatever the case may be, you've seen this before, except for with X, Y's, and Z's, and you're comfortable enough manipulating the equation from a mathematical point of view, so the math isn't holding you up. And then you can actually understand, be much more comfortable understanding the material and what is actually happening as we change things in any kind of a wireless system or orbital mechanics or anything else. So that's what this next chunklet is going to show you. Thank you.